Hello, deep-hearted Cancer. This weekend, something unexpected is making its quiet way toward you, and it carries your name like a whispered promise stitched into the fabric of fate. If you felt a subtle shifting under the surface lately, like the water beneath your spirit is gently stirring, you're not imagining it. That low hum in your chest, that tug deep in your gut. It's not just a feeling, it's destiny. Reaching out with hands made of timing and trust. And I want you to know something simple but powerful. You didn't stumble upon this video by chance. It came for you. This isn't just another message floating through your feed. This is alignment raw and real. A crossroad carved into the unseen, where your soul's timing finally meets what the universe has been holding in trust for you. This is the kind of weekend that doesn't tiptoe. It swings open a hidden door you didn't even know you were standing in front of. Now, Cancer, I see you. How much you've been holding. How long you've been the emotional anchor for everyone else. You carry the weight of love, duty, and sensitivity with such quiet dignity that even you forget how long you've been waiting for something to shift in your own story. But the pause is lifting. This weekend is not a blur between days. It's a turning point dressed in simplicity. You might have thought of this weekend as a wind down, a soft edge before the week, but in a spiritual sense, this weekend is a bridge. And not just any bridge, one that links the life you've quietly endured with the one that's been waiting patiently for your permission to begin. Something is moving. A recognition is coming. Not the loud kind, but the sacred kind, the one that honors all you've held in silence. So let me ask you, Cancer, what if everything you've walked through, every moment that felt too quiet or too long, was preparing you for something far better than your mind could have ever pictured? What if this wasn't just a date in the calendar, but a divine assignment written in the language of timing only your soul could understand? Because it island. And if you're still listening, it's because some part of you, the part that knows without words already, felt that truth rising. Picture a door in the unseen, trembling with your frequency, waiting for the exact rhythm of your yes. And that frequency, it's you, your nurturing heart, your decision to trust, again, even after all the reasons not to. Today, you're being gently asked to lean in, to let yourself believe that the timing you've been sensing is real, that the moment has finally come. If your chest feels a little tight, if you're blinking back tears or getting goosebumps that don't make sense, don't brush it off. Don't scroll away. This is confirmation, and I would love for you to mark this moment right now by commenting below. I'm ready. Plus 888. That number is sacred. The pulse of infinite flow, divine timing, and the unlocking of paths you once thought were closed. When you write those words, you're doing more than typing. You're planting a declaration into the fabric of this moment. Cancer, your presence here matters more than you may realize. So let me say this from the root of my heart. Thank you for showing up, for pouring your energy into this space, for choosing to trust this message. Every like, every comment, every subscription is a seed that helps this space grow into something enduring and meaningful. And it allows me to keep showing up for you, bringing through the messages that were always meant to find their way to your spirit. And believe me when I say what the universe is getting ready to show you today is something you'll want to stay for all the way through. So pause, breathe. You're exactly where you need to be. Let's begin. Your shift has already started moving toward you. Sometimes the biggest turning points don't arrive with a bang. They unfold gently in the quiet end of a week, on a day that wears the mask of normalcy but hums with deeper meaning. For Cancer, this weekend carries exactly that kind of weight. A soft, invisible pivot cloaked in calm but laced with promise, sensitivity, and strength intuition and protection, nurturing and letting go. You understand the ebb and flow of holding both. But today isn't about holding it all together. It's about letting yourself be whole with every contradiction inside you resting in quiet peace. From an astrological view, the energy unfolding is both subtle and deeply meaningful. The moon, your ruling planet and keeper of emotions, intuition, security, and what you nurture, is forming a gentle trine with Neptune, the ancient keeper of dreams, spirituality, and divine connection. This alignment doesn't shout, it harmonizes. It softens the edges between feeling and logic, between vulnerability and resilience. It's like the moment when a melody meets a steady drum beat. When emotions no longer need to wait for permission to be felt, this isn't about choosing between your heart and your duties anymore. It's about receiving what's been waiting for your readiness. And there's something so quietly powerful in that. If you felt like you've been standing at the edge of something new, waiting for a sign that it's real, that it's time, this is that moment when the door starts to give beneath your touch. You may not walk through it all at once, but this weekend is when the first light begins to seep through the cracks. It might be something as simple as a sentence landing softer than usual, a conversation that shifts the air, a wound you thought was still raw that suddenly feels less sharp, like time finally caught up with it. A wave of emotion rising not from pain, but from release. And no, that's not a coincidence. That's alignment. This moment isn't asking you to chase anything. It's gently asking you to receive with the kind of quiet courage that comes from deep intuition and a heart that has learned to heal. Spiritually speaking, many expect breakthroughs to arrive like lightning, loud, dramatic, impossible to miss. But the most lasting transformations often move like the tide beneath your feet. Gentle, constant, deeply nourishing. They show up when the chaos starts to dissolve, and you realize that peace isn't a distant ideal. It's already growing in the spaces where conflict used to live. Where bitterness once held court, forgiveness quietly settles in, and the need to prove you're worth it softens because suddenly you know you don't have to. There's divine brilliance in simplicity, and this weekend carries that very energy, a rare invitation to come home to yourself, to let your inner clarity start shaping the outer world around you. If you come from a background of faith or have ever whispered a prayer into the silence, you already know that answers rarely thunder in when we scream for them. More often they arrive like still water, calm, present, undeniable. In a world full of noise and movement, it's easy to miss them. But this weekend is asking for something different. It's calling for a pause, a breath, a surrender of all the striving. Not because you're giving up, but because you're finally letting grace do what it's always been waiting to do, catch up to you. And yes, grace is real. It's not something you need to earn or chase down. It's something you recognize when your heart is still enough to receive it. If you've been asking for a sign, for some kind of inner confirmation, let this message be that moment. Not because it's grand, but because it's right on time. Healing doesn't always arrive with dramatic shifts. Sometimes it shows up like a blossom that opens without fanfare, like warmth returning to your skin after a long, cold night, or like this video, finding you at the exact moment your soul whispered for it. Don't be surprised if someone reaches out, and don't dismiss the idea that something once thought lost might find its way back in a different, more evolved form. Cancer, you don't have to be flawless to deserve a fresh start. You just have to stay open. And if something about this moment, this message resonates with that deep intuitive part of you, say it. Say it out loud or hold it like a promise in your chest. And if your heart leads you to share it, let this space be the altar where you affirm, I'm ready to receive what's meant for me. Because when we speak truth into the atmosphere, the whole energy around us starts to shift. What you're standing in right now isn't pressure, it's preparation, it's a promise. It's the slow blooming of something that's been making its way to you for a long time. Some moments are so carefully orchestrated, so delicately placed, that we only recognize them once we're inside them. And Cancer, what's approaching you this weekend isn't random. It's the unfolding of something deeply chosen, something your soul agreed to meet long before today, something that's been reserved, refined, and timed with precision just for you. Maybe you felt it lately, like a deep pull in your emotional core, a gentle current that carries the scent of change before any visible sign arrives. That's not your imagination. That's alignment, and it's drawing closer. The surprise coming toward you may not take the shape your mind expects. Life's most meaningful shifts rarely come wrapped in flashing lights. They arrive tucked inside what looks ordinary. A message from someone who disappeared without explanation. A voice from the past surfacing just as you finally stopped listening for it. Maybe it's a career path swinging open again, one you thought had closed for good, or a quiet realization that the version of yourself you once clung to no longer fits. And that's not loss, but freedom. The details don't matter as much as the truth they carry. What matters is the knowing, the deep, undeniable knowing, that what's arriving isn't random. It's a return, a response to everything you've planted, even in your loneliest seasons. You've sown seeds made of faith, of honesty, of quiet strength and growth no one else could see. And if energy is never wasted, only redirected, then those seeds haven't vanished. They've matured, gained weight, and now they're ready to bear fruit. In the tarot, we often meet this kind of moment through the High Priestess, the silent keeper of inner truths. She doesn't shout. She reveals only when you're ready to understand. This week, you may feel drawn to people, places, or conversations that stir something ancient in you, like echoes of a forgotten dream or a memory that never fully formed. That's the High Priestess whispering. It's always been here. You just weren't ready until now. And then comes Judgment, the card that doesn't just awaken but calls you up. This is the moment you realize you're no longer who you were, and the old patterns that once held you simply don't fit anymore. It's the energy of stepping forward, not because you've finally figured everything out, but because old life has nothing left to offer. And when that energy joins hands with the Wheel of Fortune, it becomes movement. Sudden, divinely timed, irreversible movement. You may not be able to trace the entire path in advance, Cancer, but something deep within you, that old, steady knowing, already senses it. The wheel has turned. The current beneath you feels different, softer somehow, as if the rhythm of your life is finally shifting in your favor. I've watched moments like this unfold for others too, always in ways that feel simple but astonishing. I remember hearing a woman share how she'd prayed gently and quietly for months, hoping for a shift, and then, out of nowhere, she received a call, one that reopened a door she had already closed with grace. She wasn't reaching anymore. She was simply available, and that made all the difference. Life has this mysterious way of circling back with gifts we once released, especially when we let go not out of defeat, but from trust. When we walk away with softness instead of resistance. You don't need to fight for what's meant for you. The waters have already turned. The seeds of feeling have taken root. The timing is quietly ripe. What matters now isn't force, it's presence. It's being opened and open-hearted enough to notice when the blessing finally knocks. So Cancer, let me ask you gently, what do you think this surprise might be? What would you welcome truly if it arrived at your door this week? Unexpected but somehow perfectly timed. Let your intuition speak in the comments. Write it not as a wish, but as a truth, already making its way toward you. And when you do include the number 888, a number woven with the energy of infinite return, sacred cycles, and the quiet magic of things finding their way home. Let this be more than a comment. Let it be your quiet declaration. You're no longer just hoping, you're receiving. Sometimes the most significant days don't begin with thunder. They arrive in stillness, cloaked in routine. But beneath the surface, everything starts to shift. And that's exactly the energy this weekend holds for you, Cancer. After all the inner movement, the sacred invitations, and the gentle confirmations, this moment asks for one thing: stillness. Not stillness as a pause, but as a deep listening to the subtle rhythm pulsing all around you. It doesn't shout, it doesn't rush. It lands with precision, with purpose, and it's deeply personal. This weekend carries an astrological blueprint that doesn't just signal change, it quietly turns the page. The moon, your ruling planet, is now activating either your 4th or 8th house, depending on your unique birth chart. And that creates two very particular currents. If it's moving through your 4th house, the shift is centered around nurturing home and emotional security. This house governs the raw beauty of falling in love with life again, whether through creating a sacred space, deepening family bonds, or simply remembering what brings you fully into the present moment. But if the moon is instead illuminating your 8th house, the call goes deeper. It's a spiritual transformation, a return to profound intimacy, or a renewed sense of purpose behind your journey. In both cases, what's being revealed is this: your voice matters, your joy matters. Your path is sacred and worthy, not because it's impressive, but because it's yours. Adding even more depth to this movement is Mercury, who's preparing to go direct again. When Mercury lingers like this halfway between retrograde and forward motion, it's like standing in the breath between heartbeats. The past may circle back. Unfinished conversations may find their way to closure. Misunderstandings may finally soften into mutual understanding. What once felt blocked might now begin to flow. It's as if the universe gently presses unmute, and suddenly what was hidden becomes clear again. And when we step into the lens of numerology, the picture grows even more layered. This weekend carries the vibration of both the number 7 and the number 9. Each one is profoundly meaningful to this season of your growth. The 7 hums with energy of reflection, intuition, inner wisdom, and a deep connection to your spiritual self. The 9, in contrast, holds wisdom, the wisdom of endings that arrive with peace of letting go, not as loss, but as space for something better. Together, they offer you a quiet invitation to let something close with grace, so something truer can begin. Something that sounds like you, not what others expect of you, not what you've been carrying on borrowed beliefs, but something with your voice woven through every thread. And when you add those two numbers, 7 and 9, you get 16, which simplifies again to 7. So the message echoes louder. This is about deep introspection, about trusting your inner knowing. This is not the moment to hold back, not the week to silence your truth. The cosmic math is crystal clear. Your intuition, your insight, your compassionate expression are the keys. Through your inner voice, the door opens. Through your honesty, the alignment arrives. Color holds energy too, and it can quietly support you in ways you might not even realize. If you find yourself feeling more energetically sensitive on this weekend, consider surrounding yourself with soft silver or deep sea blue. These hues speak directly to the soul of Cancer. Silver connects with the moon, nurturing the heart not just emotionally, but energetically. It reminds you to treat yourself with the same tenderness you offer so easily to others. Deep sea blue brings calm depth and quiet focus. It steadies your inner waters, helping you stay connected as change moves around you like the tides. Color is frequency, Cancer, and frequency listens to intention. When you align what you wear, what you surround yourself with, to the emotional tone you wish to carry, You create a harmony that speaks to the universe in ways words cannot. This is the perfect time to tune in more deeply. Try this simple reflection. Take your date of birth, then add the number of the day 7 and the month 9 together. Don't overthink it. Let the number you get sit with you for a while. Does it feel familiar? Does it stir something new? Let it be a quiet mirror. Let it guide you in its own way. And if you feel called, share that number in the comments. You never know what comes up for. You might become the confirmation someone else has been silently waiting for. And through all of this, Cancer knows this. You are not being pushed. You're being gently led through grace, through the steady light of your own knowing, through the slow unfolding of a truth you felt, but maybe haven't fully named yet. This weekend is not random. It's intentional. It's been marked in your energy for longer than you realize. All that's left is for you to meet it. One act of courage, one grounded conversation, one small sacred choice to trust the rhythm. And this week could open in ways you never could have planned. Even when we're not actively reaching for healing, it has a way of finding us. Not because we're broken, but because we've carried too much for too long in silence. The energy surrounding this weekend doesn't demand more from you. It doesn't ask you to work harder. It asks you to be here to lean into the unfolding already happening inside you. You've walked through long seasons of deep feeling, of quiet introspection, of patient nurturing. They were not just by those around you, but by the rhythm of life itself. And that's why now, with nothing left to prove, you're being handed the key to something different, something honest, something earned. You are the gatekeeper of your transformation. You don't need the world outside to shift before your life changes. Sometimes all it takes is a new breath, a new moment of clarity, a return to stillness that allows what's next to find you. Imagine this. If this whole week is a doorway, then this weekend is the moment your hand closes around the key. Not because someone gave it to you, but because you were finally ready to remember that it's been yours all along. We talk so often about transformation as a storm, a fire, a breakthrough, but so often it begins with small acts, the kind you return to quietly in between the noise. Cancer, you don't need to reinvent yourself. You simply need a gentle reset, a re-entering that could be as small and as powerful as taking a few minutes today for the 4-4-4 to 4 breath. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4, rest for 4. Repeat this in stillness. Let your body feel what your spirit already knows, that you are safe enough to slow down. That stillness is a kind of strength. Now, let's talk about money, but not from a place of pressure, from a place of vision. You don't need a raise, a windfall, or a miracle to begin tending to your finances with love. Sit down and sketch out a 3-month plan, not a spreadsheet of scarcity, but a map of meaning. What do you need? What do you value? What do you want to create more space for? This too is spiritual work, because when you choose intention over chaos, you are honoring the version of yourself who's been waiting to be heard. And when it comes to love, Cancer, no one needs to remind you of your capacity to nurture your empathy, your boundless care. But what if love this time around wasn't something you had to strain for? What if it felt like ease, like warmth, like mutual rising instead of silent sacrifice? Let your heart soften again, not because the past didn't hurt, but because the past doesn't get to decide what's possible now. Reopening your heart isn't about exposing yourself to pain. It's about creating the kind of space where real connection can land safely, slowly, and without needing to be earned. If your work has started to feel stagnant or quietly unfulfilling, Cancer, don't rush to fix or uproot everything at once. Just pause. Listen inward. What part of you have you been ignoring? What longing inside you hasn't had enough room to breathe? Sometimes we don't feel lost because we're in the wrong place, but because we've silenced the voice within us that once burned with direction. This week, even 5 grounded minutes of stillness, of letting yourself truly feel, can reconnect you to what matters most. One of the most quietly powerful practices you can begin today is this. Write your intention and anchor it with the number 888. This number holds the energy of flow, abundance, and divine return. Don't just scribble a hope. Write a direction, a tone, a declaration that says, "I'm ready." Leave it in the comments, not just for yourself, but to strengthen the current that flows through this entire space. Your voice matters, and what you set in motion today may ripple far beyond what your eyes can see. And if lately time has felt strange, if the days seem to bend or stretch in unfamiliar ways, know this: you're not imagining it. The rhythm is shifting because you are. This is the moment to match that shift with clear intention. So if something inside you is stirring, even faintly, speak it, write it, let it move from within you into the atmosphere, because expression is its own kind of opening. And once a door opens, everything begins to move. There comes a moment, often without warning, when the noise inside goes quiet and the world feels like it's holding its breath just for you. Cancer, that moment may find you this weekend. It won't be loud, it won't demand your attention, it may last only a blink. But in that breath, you'll feel a pause so profound it leaves you certain. Today isn't like the others. That stillness inside you, that clear, anchored sense of something just shifted, is what we call spiritual movement. Not because the world outside has changed, but because you have. It's the quiet moment when you realize you're not waiting anymore. You're ready. And often that simple readiness is what begins to change everything around you. Not because life suddenly becomes unrecognizable, but because you're finally seeing it with new eyes. That's the true beginning. The internal yes. There's a quiet kind of power in soft realizations. A thought you didn't expect. A moment of breath that fills your chest with truth. One calm second where something unspoken becomes completely clear. And just like that, the atmosphere around you feels different. It's like dropping a pearl into calm waters. The impact may feel gentle, but the ripples carry farther than you think. And just like that water, your inner world reflects a new kind of light. When those ripples begin inside of you, they start moving through everything your life touches. I once heard a story about a woman who had been struggling quietly for months. She journaled, prayed, waited. Nothing seemed to move. But this weekend morning, without knowing why, she felt drawn to step outside early. The air felt cooler, the sky softer, and without overthinking, she whispered, "Show me what I've been missing." That same day, a phone call came. An invitation that changed her path completely. Not just because it offered something new, but because it reminded her of what she had nearly stopped believing in. She later said, "I almost missed it, but something in me listened." That's how turning points arrive. Not with trumpets, but with whispers. You don't need a perfect 5-year plan to feel aligned. You don't need a flawless version of yourself to receive what's meant for you. What you need is to be present, clear-eyed enough to notice when your spirit says, "This is it." That feeling of resonance, that inner nod. It's not a coincidence. It's the universe confirming your readiness. The truth is, we often wait for something big to happen before we trust our decisions. But the real shift begins when you decide from within that it's time to stop rehearsing the old story. The moment you choose to live from that deeper knowing, life begins offering you a new chapter. And Cancer, this weekend might just be the page where that chapter begins. This is your invitation to notice the subtle unfolding, to trust what stirs within you more than the noise that surrounds you, to believe the quiet nudges, even when they don't come with logic-only truth. So ask yourself honestly, have you ever had a moment like that? A second when something just clicked and you knew what to do or what never to return to? If you have, share it. Let your words become a gentle light for someone else, navigating their own turning point. And if that moment hasn't come for you yet, maybe it's waiting for you right now. Maybe today is when it finds you. Speak it. Claim it. Let your voice ripple through this space, part of something collective and sacred. We're not here to push each other toward transformation. We're here to remind each other that it's already happening from the inside out. So Cancer, if you're still here, take a breath, let it move through your chest like a quiet grounding, and feel this truth land softly. You are not here by chance. You didn't arrive at this message by accident. And this weekend isn't just another line on the calendar. Everything you've heard, everything that stirred inside you while listening, it's all part of a deeper rhythm. A rhythm that's been gently humming beneath your days, waiting for you to notice it. You've walked through long seasons of deep feeling, of quiet introspection, of patient nurturing. And now that long-held question in your chest, it's being answered. This is the moment the universe whispers back. We've journeyed through reflection, through intuition, and into aligned motion, from internal awareness to external readiness. You've remembered how to hear your truth, not in noise, but in resonance. And now the question becomes, what will you do with what you felt? Will you honor it with a single act of courage today? Will you say the words, set the boundary? Choose a path not from fear, but from faith. You don't have to shift everything at once. You only have to begin one small action, one gentle but real declaration. That's all it takes to start the ripple. Because energy isn't a theory, it's a movement. And movement always begins with you. So what if this week you stopped asking for signs and started walking as if you are the sign? What if you spoke as if the door was already open and lived like what you're hoping for is already yours? What if you treated this message not as a maybe, but as a confirmation? Cancer, you're not late. You're not lost. You're right on time. You are the one trusted with this moment. You are the one chosen to feel this shift. And the story that's unfolding next begins with you. Maybe this is the moment where everything begins to turn, not because the world around you suddenly shifted, but because you did. So don't let this pass like a breeze you forget to feel against your skin. Let it in. Let it settle. Let it shape the way you move through the next 24 hours. How you speak, how you hope, how you hold space for yourself, without rushing to fix or prove anything. Let it soften your expectations. Deepen your faith deeper into the nourishing waters of who you are. And if your heart is nodding right now, if even the faintest part of you feels the truth of what's been spoken, then don't just let it drift by. Anchor it. Drop into the comments and leave a message that marks this moment. Let it be a quiet but firm declaration of readiness. Add the number 888 beside your intention, your affirmation, or even a single word that captures where you are on the path. That number is more than a symbol, it's energy. It echoes the infinite rhythm of return, the sacred flow that begins when you finally give yourself permission to receive. So tell me, Cancer, what are you ready to receive this weekend? What possibility are you finally ready to believe in? What weight are you willing to lay down so that grace can take its place in your hands? And before we close this space, thank you. Thank you for arriving with openness, for standing still long enough to feel, and for meeting this message with the quiet power of your presence. Every comment, every moment you offer here expands this field of light, making it possible for these words to find the ones who have been silently asking for a sign. This is more than just a video. It's a gathering place for souls who are no longer interested in performing, but in rising, not from force, but from truth. So hold on to this feeling. Let it stay with you. You've been preparing for this. maybe for longer than you realized, and the gift you've been waiting for. It's arriving. Maybe not in the shape you expected, but in a way that feels undeniably, unmistakably yours. Cancer, walk forward now like someone who knows the season has changed. The chapter that's opening, it's not the end. It's the beginning of a new current of blessings born from the still steady, yes, that now lives quietly but firmly inside you. And let me say it again slowly, because it matters. This gift was always meant for you. Until we meet again, stay deeply connected, stay open, and always stay ready. I'm deeply honored to share this sacred space with you.